You have to look at what you have, like you have your family, you have a home. I have food in my fridge and a family, and I'm at home and I'm safe. And so I know that there are so many people that are not feeling that same security. And that alone has to be something that I can't take it for granted.
As the world grinds to a halt in efforts to prevent the spread of the deadly coronavirus, my newspaper set out to discover how it's upending lives across the region. I wanted to find out how all of you were feeling and how you were coping. And I wanted to do it all without ever having to come into contact with you, as a way to help prevent the spread of the virus. Here's what I came up with: the COVID-Diaries. It's a series of interviews, all conducted over video chat, that take the temperature of a community in a time of dramatic upheaval.
You run the Voices of Our City choir, which is a choir. A lot of folks, people experiencing homelessness, are in your choir, and you
Mhm.
do a lot of work in the homeless community in San Diego.
Yeah,
Why don't you just update us on everything that's happened in that world in the last few
sure.
weeks since we spoke to you?
Probably the biggest thing is that our advocacy director, John Brady, wrote a memo with a couple of our advocacy partners, funders together to end homelessness and think dignity. And the memo kind of laid out how we thought the city should respond, like a play by play, like by day 3, do this, by day 7, be doing this. And we sit on the board with the regional task force, and we shared it with the director, Tamara Kohler, and the board approved and agreed. And they may have made some changes to it, I'm not sure, but that letter seemed to really um, get everybody on the same page as far as this being like a real epidemic, like something that we wanted to, from the top down, get everybody from the mayor down, as well as assembly members and other representatives to be on the same page. And everybody jumped on board. I mean, I think a lot of people were already jumping on board, but as you know, in our city, and maybe in a lot of cities, who are we kidding, but in our city, there's a real breakdown sometimes. And if there's a breakdown, then things don't get done. And we are so proud of the way the city has responded. They approved the opening of the convention center as a shelter. We're just blown away that they've finally opened up space where hundreds of people are going to be able to move in and practice social distancing. There's medics there. There's 3 meals a day. It's incredible. It's really incredible.
Is it frustrating in some sense? I have to imagine that it is. So tell me if I'm wrong and I'm projecting, but I'm imagining that it's going to be a little frustrating that like it took a pandemic to provide some of this.
It took a pandemic. It took years of advocacy. It took Voices of Our City Choir humanizing homelessness. It took the right people being in office. It took, it took a lot. It takes a lot sometimes to get people to move. And I try to focus on the positive, and I just try to, jump into, okay, it's happening. We're all on board now, so let's make it happen.
So how many people were unhoused that were part of your choir that are housed now? Do you know?
Well, we've helped probably close to 60 people get off the street now at this point. But during this pandemic, we have probably it's probably like about 10 individuals that were still remaining, that were out there. And there's still some other choir members that, homelessness is it's multifaceted, right? I mean, it's not just like one thing. It's not just like, okay, here's keys to a place. It's believing that you deserve it. It's believing that you're a human being that, can, have something like that and that responsibility, or, it just takes a lot. So.
And how is this influencing you as like a songwriter and artist on it?
Oh my gosh. First of all, besides just having time to write, I mean, to be home and to have time to write, but so many things are so different. Like I ride my bike a lot, for exercise, and the streets are empty and clean. And that's very unique to see hardly anybody on the freeway. Looks like a movie, when in our lifetimes would we ever see the world go quiet like this? So yeah, there's been a lot of bits of just like inspiration that have grown into a song very quickly.
It seems like you're touching on like all these things that are such mixed feelings, like this, the world is on fire,
Right.
but you're getting this time to think and to be inspired, and all of a sudden all these people are being housed, but it took a pandemic to do it. How
I
do
know.
you how do you
How do
how do
you
you
how do you live
reconcile
in both? How do you?
how do you reconcile it in your mind?
Well, I told my staff, and I tell the team, I tell the choir members that I can't go down a rabbit hole of darkness or depression or anger, because then my whole the whole organization will be tainted. All of our efforts could tip. And it is like I think a conscious choice to choose the positive and to make the best out of your situation. I mean, every day I write 10 gratitudes, and I write my own personal affirmations, my mission, and I meditate. So if I didn't do that, then I think I would get kind of caught up.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot. I should be doing some of that.
It's really you have to look at what you have. Like you have your family. You have a home. I have food in my fridge, and a family, and I'm at home and I'm safe. And so I know that there are so many people that are not feeling that same security, and that alone has to be something that I can't take it for granted, and give back from that full cup. Wow, look at like what we have. I wrote this song before I started the choir, and it's really about witnessing people suffering on the street, and like the call to respond in a compassionate way. Maybe that's why we are here, to see when one of us is cold, and maybe we're not too old to see that the time is now to be bold. Forget about what you've been told. There's a new religion of freedom. It's called love. Oh. Now go to the root of your soul. Let go of the space that you know, and your spirit will soar endlessly. Before we grow too attached to what we see,